Have you ever felt like something invisible is holding you back, even when your body feels fine? It's not always age, or health, or lack of energy. Sometimes it's the old baggage we carry without even noticing, beliefs that no longer serve us, habits we've outgrown, guilt, worry, or expectations we've held onto for decades. After 70, these things don't just weigh on your heart, they quietly drain your joy, cloud your clarity, and dim your spark. In today's video, we're going to explore 7 surprising things many people unknowingly carry into their golden years, and how letting them go can open up space for peace, strength, and a life that feels lighter and freer than ever before. If you're over 70, or love someone who is, this message is for you. Stick with me to the end, because the final item is the one no one talks about, yet it may be the most powerful key to emotional freedom in later life. Before we begin, if you believe aging should be about living better, not just longer, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you don't miss any of our future videos. And if you're already part of this wonderful community, give this video a like and comment one below to let me know you're here. Now let's begin this beautiful journey of release and renewal together. Number 1, the guilt of saying no. There's a quiet weight that many people carry into their 70s without even realizing it. It doesn't show up in your posture or your blood work, but you feel it every time you say no to someone. It's the weight of guilt. Guilt for turning down an invitation. Guilt for canceling plans. Guilt for choosing rest over responsibility. And yet, at this stage in life, when your time, your energy, and your peace are more precious than ever, that guilt no longer belongs in your heart. It's time to let it go. For decades, many of us lived by a quiet rule: be agreeable, be helpful, be available. We raised children, built careers, cared for aging parents, served our communities, and somewhere along the way, yes became a habit, one rooted in kindness but often reinforced by fear. Fear of disappointing others, fear of being seen as selfish, fear of no longer being needed. But now, in your 70s, you are in a new season. A season not defined by obligation, but by intention. And learning to say no without guilt is one of the most liberating gifts you can give yourself. Take Margaret, for example. She's 76 now, a retired nurse who spent most of her life putting others first. After retiring, she thought she'd finally have time for herself. But instead, her days filled up with babysitting requests, church fundraisers, and neighborly favors. She rarely said no, not because she enjoyed all those things, but because she didn't want to let anyone down. It wasn't until one rainy weekend, when she declined a last-minute invitation to a potluck, and instead stayed home to curl up with an old novel she'd been meaning to finish, that something shifted. That quiet, simple joy, being alone with her own thoughts, wrapped in a blanket with a cup of tea, reminded her of something she'd forgotten. She matters too. Learning to say no doesn't mean you stop loving people. It means you start loving yourself with the same energy you've always given to others. And that love looks like protecting your calendar, honoring your limits, and creating space for what nourishes you. Whether that's solitude, creativity, quiet reflection, or simply not rushing from one thing to the next. What's more, when you set these boundaries, you're not only honoring your own well-being, you're modeling something powerful for your children and grandchildren. You're teaching them that growing older doesn't have to mean disappearing into service. It can mean growing into wisdom, living with purpose, choosing peace over performance. Of course, there will still be times when your heart says yes, and those yeses will be richer because they'll come from a place of truth, not tiredness. They'll be full-hearted, not half-drained. So if you're still carrying the guilt of saying no, ask yourself, what would it feel like to set it down? What might you reclaim, your time, your joy, your creativity, if you stopped apologizing for choosing what's best for you? You've earned the right to live this chapter on your own terms, and the people who truly love you, they'll understand. Maybe even thank you for showing them how. Number 2, outdated medical supplies and prescriptions. It's surprising how quietly outdated medical supplies pile up in our homes. They sit tucked away in bathroom drawers, kitchen cupboards, or hallway cabinets, unnoticed, unbothered, and often untouched for years. A bottle of cough syrup from 2 winters ago, a tube of ointment that expired when your grandchild was still in grade school, old prescriptions with faded labels and half-used pills. At first glance, they don't seem dangerous. Just clutter, maybe. But after the age of 70, keeping these forgotten items isn't just a matter of mess. It's a matter of safety. As we age, our bodies become more sensitive to medications, and even small errors can have serious consequences. Medications that are past their expiration date don't always become completely ineffective. They can change in chemical composition, degrade unevenly, or react differently in the body. Some, like tetracycline and nitroglycerin, have been shown in studies to become toxic or unstable after expiration. Others simply become unreliable, which can be just as dangerous if you're treating something critical like high blood pressure, diabetes, or heart conditions. Even a small mix-up, taking the wrong pill at the wrong time, can lead to a hospital visit or worse. Consider what happened to Eileen, a 79-year-old widow living independently in upstate New York. She had a medicine drawer filled with years of prescriptions, some from her late husband, others from past injuries and illnesses. One afternoon, feeling a headache and some tightness in her chest, she reached for a bottle she thought was her current medication. It wasn't. It was an old prescription for muscle relaxants that had lost their label and looked nearly identical to her heart pills. By the time she realized her mistake, her blood pressure had dropped dangerously low. Thankfully, her daughter checked on her in time and got her to urgent care. But it was a close call, one that never had to happen. And it's not just the medications themselves. Think about the tools and supplies we use alongside them. Expired bandages may no longer stick when we need them most. Thermometers that haven't been calibrated can give false readings, leading to delays in treatment. Supplements that were once part of your routine may now interfere with new medications or may no longer be necessary at all. The solution is simple but powerful. Go through your home with a calm, clear eye. Open every drawer, every bin, every shelf. Check every expiration date. If something is outdated, dispose of it safely. Many pharmacies offer take-back programs to make this easy and environmentally friendly. If a label is missing or unclear, don't take chances. Toss it. If you haven't used something in over a year and don't have a medical reason to keep it, let it go. Keep only what is current, labeled, and truly essential for your care. This act of clearing out is more than organization. It's an act of love for yourself, so that in moments of illness, you're not surrounded by confusion, and for your family, who may one day need to step in and help manage your medications. A tidy, updated medicine cabinet tells them that you've taken your health seriously and made their job easier in a time that may be stressful. So today, take that small but important step. Protect your health. Clear the clutter. Give yourself and those who care about you the peace of mind you deserve. If you found these insights valuable, let me know by commenting yes below. Your thoughts matter, and I'd love to hear from you. Number 3. Negative self-talk. Imagine this. You've spent a lifetime building, loving, trying, giving. And yet, after 70, there's still a voice inside you that whispers you're not enough. You're too old to try something new. You've made too many mistakes. No one really needs you now. That voice, it's not wisdom. It's not your conscience. It's negative self-talk, and it's one of the most damaging habits we carry into our later years. It hides in our quietest thoughts, but its impact is loud. It steals your motivation, blurs your self-worth, and makes the beautiful second act of life feel like an epilogue. This kind of thinking doesn't appear overnight. It often begins early. Maybe it grew from a childhood of constant correction or impossible standards. Maybe it took root after years of comparing yourself to others or internalizing messages from a world that worships youth. Over time, it settles in like an uninvited guest, sitting beside you during the quiet moments, questioning your every move, your every desire. And because we've heard it for so long, we start to believe it. But belief doesn't make something true. Let's be clear, your age does not define your value. As long as you're alive, your story is still unfolding. Nelson Mandela once said, "There is no passion to be found in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living." He became president of South Africa at age 75. He didn't believe he was too old to lead a country or change the world, and neither should you believe you're too old to change your life. Take Lillian, for example. She's 80 now, living in Arizona, and she always dreamed of learning how to swim. But for decades, she told herself she was too heavy, too embarrassed, too late. The voice inside her wasn't just doubtful. It was cruel. It reminded her of every moment she felt left out or judged. But one summer, during a heat wave, her community center offered a senior swim program. Something clicked. She was tired, not of aging, but of listening to that voice. She signed up. The first class was hard. The second was better. Now she swims 3 mornings a week, not to impress anyone, just to feel alive, strong, and proud. What changed? She stopped letting the voice make the decisions. If we talked to our friends the way we talk to ourselves, we'd have no one left. So why allow that cruelty inward? The next time your inner voice tells you you're too old, ask yourself, would I say this to someone I love? And if not, then stop saying it to yourself. Speak instead with compassion. Tell yourself the truth. You've lived through storms and come out stronger. You've lost and still showed up. You still have something to give, something to learn, something to love. You are not behind in life. You are in the middle of becoming. And that journey doesn't end until the very last page. So let your voice reflect your resilience. Let it remind you, you are still here, still growing, and every day is still yours to shape. Number 4, clutter that ties you to the past. There's something deeply comforting about holding on to objects that carry the warmth of memory. A wedding ring, a handwritten letter, a favorite scarf that still carries a trace of someone's scent. These aren't just belongings, they're anchors to love, to identity, to the story of who you are. But somewhere along the way, what starts as meaningful remembrance can quietly turn into something much heavier. A house once filled with memories becomes crowded with things that no longer serve your life today. Drawers jammed with unused gadgets, closets stuffed with clothes that haven't been touched in decades, and shelves lined with books or papers that haven't been read in years. It creeps in slowly, and then one day, you realize it's no longer just about keeping the past close, it's about being unable to let it go. What makes clutter so challenging after 70 isn't just the physical inconvenience, it's the emotional weight. Every item seems to ask a question. Should I keep this, just in case? What if someone else wants it? Does getting rid of this mean forgetting? These aren't just logistical questions. They're questions of identity, legacy, and loss, and they often come with a quiet sense of guilt or fear, as if letting go of an object might mean letting go of a person, a time, or a part of yourself. But here's a gentle truth. Letting go is not the same as forgetting. It's not about erasing the past. It's about honoring it by choosing what to carry forward. When you free up space in your home, you're not discarding your memories. You're making room for clarity, peace, and even joy. You're allowing yourself to breathe more easily, to move more freely, and to focus more deeply on the life you're living now, not the one you lived 30 years ago. There's even science behind this. Studies in gerontology and psychology show that physical clutter can contribute to mental fog, stress, and even depression in older adults. The brain craves order. When we're surrounded by too many possessions, especially those with emotional attachments, it can create a kind of static in the mind, making it harder to concentrate, harder to make decisions, and harder to fully relax. Simplifying your space doesn't just clear the home, it clears the mind. Start with just one drawer. Ask yourself, do I use this? Do I love this? Does this help me today? If the answer is no, consider that you're not throwing something away. You're choosing space over stagnation. You're making a conscious decision to live fully in the present, rather than tether yourself to versions of the past that may no longer reflect who you are. And don't be afraid to invite someone into this process. Sometimes, sorting through old items with a friend or family member can turn into a powerful moment of storytelling, healing, and even laughter. Sharing the memories behind the objects gives them the dignity they deserve, without needing to keep every single item as proof. In the end, your home should reflect the life you're living now, not just the one you once lived. Every new day is a chance to live more freely, more intentionally, and more lightly. And sometimes it starts with a small but brave choice to let go. Number 5, the belief that new friendships aren't possible. Somewhere along the path of aging, many people start to believe that friendship is something reserved for the young. That once you pass a certain age, the door to new connections quietly closes. You've lived through so many chapters, and along the way, people have moved away, passed on, or simply faded from your life. Your routines have changed, your energy has shifted, and slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to accept a quiet thought. Maybe it's too late to make new friends. But this belief, as comforting and familiar as it might feel, is one of the most limiting things you can carry with you after 70, and it's time to let it go. Loneliness isn't just an inconvenience or an inevitable part of aging. It's a signal. It's your spirit reminding you that connection still matters. That no matter how many candles were on your last birthday cake, your heart hasn't aged out of laughter, companionship, or meaningful conversation. Just because life looks different now doesn't mean the need for closeness has disappeared. In fact, as we get older, the power of friendship becomes even more essential, not just for emotional well-being, but for physical health. Research from Harvard and the Mayo Clinic has consistently shown that social engagement improves longevity, boosts cognitive function, and strengthens immunity. So when you feel that ache of isolation, it's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's your body and soul calling you back toward community. Of course, it may not look the same as it did in your younger years. You won't be meeting new friends in dormitories or dance halls, but connection is still all around you. In the quiet hum of a shared hobby, in the soft-spoken familiarity of a neighbor, or in the unexpected comfort of someone sitting beside you at the library, the park, or a local coffee shop. The key is openness. Not loud, outgoing energy, but gentle openness. A willingness to look up, to say hello, to sit with someone and listen without rushing away. Think of the example of famed author Maya Angelou. In her 70s and 80s, she often spoke about the friendships she continued to form even in the later decades of her life. She once said, "I don't trust anyone who doesn't laugh." That quote speaks to a powerful truth. Joy and connection don't age out. They evolve. They grow richer. And sometimes the people who come into your life in your final chapters turn out to be the ones who see you most clearly, not despite your years, but because of them. Opening yourself to new friendships does require vulnerability, and that can feel harder, not easier, with age. You've seen heartbreak, you've experienced loss, but with that also comes a depth of understanding, patience, and kindness that only time can teach. You now bring more than just stories. You bring presence, empathy, and wisdom. And those are the very things someone else may be quietly longing for too. So if you've believed that new friendships aren't possible anymore, try to see that belief for what it is. A habit, not a truth. Let it go. Make space in your life for new people, new conversations, and maybe even new joy. Because friendship is not something you grow out of, it's something you grow into. And the connections formed in your later years may just be the ones that teach your heart how to feel seen again. If you found these insights valuable, let me know by commenting yes below. Your thoughts matter, and I'd love to hear from you. Number 6, expired goals that no longer serve your life. As we grow older, there's a quiet burden many people carry, a weight that doesn't come from illness or aging bones, but from something far less visible. It's the pressure of unfinished goals. The book you said you'd write, the degree you were once determined to earn, the business idea that never quite took off. Even at 70 or 80, these thoughts can linger like unopened mail, quietly whispering that you didn't do enough, that something is still missing. But here's a powerful truth. Not every goal was meant to last forever. Some dreams were never about the destination. They were only meant to guide you for a time. One of the most freeing acts you can do in this chapter of life is to recognize which goals have expired and give yourself permission to let them go. Letting go of old goals doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're evolving. Many of those ambitions came from a younger version of you, a person with different energy, different circumstances, and often different motivations. Some goals weren't even truly yours. They were inherited from others, expectations from parents, comparisons with peers, or cultural ideals that told you what a successful life should look like. But now, with decades of lived experience behind you, the question shifts. Instead of asking, "Why didn't I do that?" it becomes far more powerful to ask, "Does this still matter to me?" There's beauty in that shift. It's not about giving up, it's about realigning with what brings you peace and joy now. Take, for example, a man who once dreamed of climbing mountains. He pictured adventure, photographs at summits, and stories of bold achievement. But in his 70s, after a few health scares and a changed lifestyle, he no longer felt called to the peak. Instead, he found peace walking through his neighborhood each morning, exchanging smiles with neighbors, noticing the birdsong. He still moved forward. He still felt alive. His definition of adventure simply changed. This is the gift of aging with self-awareness, the ability to reassess without shame. Some of the goals we outgrow once inspired us. They gave us direction. But when they become sources of regret rather than joy, it's time to release them. That space can then be filled with something that truly fits who you are today. Maybe your new goals are about presence, having deeper conversations, nurturing family bonds, passing down wisdom, or enjoying the small rituals of daily life. Maybe it's about learning something new or teaching what you've already mastered. Maybe it's simply about waking up each day without the burden of should. You're not who you were at 40 or even 60. And that's not a loss, that's growth. And growth demands change. Letting go of expired goals is not the end of your ambition. It's the beginning of a wiser, more joyful alignment with what truly matters. There is still purpose waiting for you, not in the weight of old dreams, but in the freedom to shape new ones. Ones that serve your peace, reflect your current strengths, and honor the full, beautiful life you've lived. Number 7, the fear of death. Of all the quiet burdens carried into the later decades of life, the fear of death is perhaps the most deeply rooted. Not because it is loud, but because it is often hidden. It lingers behind silence, behind the refusal to plan ahead, behind the anxiety that rises with every unexpected ache. Yet rarely is it spoken of openly. In a culture that worships youth and avoids the uncomfortable, death becomes a taboo subject, even though it touches every life. And so the fear grows. Not because death is unnatural, but because we are conditioned to resist its reality. But there is profound freedom in shifting that view. In truth, one of the most powerful acts of emotional maturity after 70 is to stop running from the fear of death, and instead begin to make peace with it. This peace does not come from pretending that death is easy or that fear will vanish. It comes from the deeper realization that fear loses its grip when we stop avoiding the truth. Ancient philosophies have long taught this. The Stoics, for instance, embraced a practice called memento mori, to remember death, not as a morbid fixation, but as a daily reminder that life is finite and therefore sacred. When we remember that our time is limited, we live differently. We stop wasting hours on meaningless worry and instead invest ourselves in presence, in joy, in acts of love that transcend time. Many spiritual traditions echo the same truth, that death is not the opposite of life, but part of its rhythm. Buddhism teaches that clinging to things, to people, to control is the root of suffering. And in clinging to youth or resisting mortality, we create internal conflict where there could be peace. By acknowledging impermanence, we are freed from the illusion that we have forever. And with that clarity comes the ability to truly appreciate now, not in theory, but in practice. Facing death doesn't mean obsessing over it. It means allowing it to inform how we live. It means having the courage to write down our wishes, to speak openly with our loved ones, to plan, not out of fear, but out of love and responsibility. To reflect not just on how we want to be remembered, but how we want to live each day with meaning. This kind of preparation doesn't bring despair, it brings relief. It removes the fog of avoidance and lets the light of intentional living shine through. You don't need to be fearless. You only need to be honest. And in that honesty, you may find something far stronger than denial, acceptance. Because when we release the fear of death, we begin to see life more clearly. Each sunrise becomes a gift, each shared conversation, a treasure, each breath, a quiet reminder that we are still here, still capable of joy, and still part of a greater story. In the end, it is not fear that protects us, but presence. Not control that gives us peace, but surrender. And not avoidance that makes us free, but the willingness to meet life and death with open eyes and a steady heart. Right now, this moment, this breath, this day is still unfolding. And as we close this video, I want to ask you something gently, from one heart to another. What are you still carrying that no longer belongs in your life? A fear, a regret, a pressure you've outgrown? After 70, letting go isn't about giving up. It's about clearing space for the beauty that's still ahead. Every time you set down something heavy, guilt, outdated goals, the fear of not being enough, you make more room for peace, for joy, for the freedom to simply be who you are. Right now, you've already lived through so much. You've proven your strength again and again. Now it's your time to breathe deeper, laugh louder, and live lighter. Don't let old beliefs or invisible burdens keep you from the joy that's still possible. You're not too late. You're right on time. So tell us, what's one thing you're choosing to let go of today? Leave a comment below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And if this video touched something in you, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep creating meaningful content for people just like you, wise, resilient, and still becoming. Thank you for being here. You're not alone on this journey. We're walking it together, one lighter step at a time. See you in the next video.